It's time for another episode of Hops and Hedges, where we talk about beer, landscaping, and everything in between. Season 1 is proudly sponsored by ext.tech, helping you grow and revolutionize your landscaping business. Now crack open a cold one, and let's dig in. Hello and welcome, Adam Braun from Belleview Landscapes in Cambridge. How are you, Adam?
I'm great, Heather. Thanks. This is such a fun opportunity.
Awesome. I'm so glad you came on the show. I think you and I have been following each other for a while on Instagram. And
Yeah,
we may have met each other at an LO event, but or
yeah,
something,
we're
some
definitely in the
event.
same. Yeah, we're definitely in the same circles. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you are the founder owner of Belleview Landscapes out in Cambridge. And so you've been doing that 5 years now, right? I think it was, you
Yeah, yeah,
said,
rough. Yeah, roughly.
so 2019, and it started as a side
I
hustle.
started. Yeah, I registered it in 2018 as a side hustle. Like I was doing some consulting, and then um, August 2020 we went full time. I
Wow.
pulled the trigger. I think that was like mid mid first round of the pandemic,
Yep.
and I decided to dive in. Yeah, and
Wow.
been going pretty hard ever since.
So even as a side hustle, like why landscaping? What got you into it? Why was this the side hustle and not something
I've
else?
actually I've Yeah, no. So landscaping wasn't a side hustle. I've never done anything different my entire life.
Oh, okay.
I have a bit of a yeah, I have a bit of a different start. I went to the Ontario College of Art and Design for school.
Yep.
But concurrently, I was working outdoors for the municipality in Kitchener as well as a private park.
Okay.
Um, I started learning a lot about the industry from people I was working next to. There was an older gentleman named Morgan who was a horticulturalist. He started teaching me about annuals and annual design. I was just like, this is it. I think I'm meant to be doing this. And
Yeah.
I didn't finish school.
No.
I was studying graphic design and environmental design, but I wasn't getting it out of that school. So
Right.
I dove into the job and I never looked back.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
so interesting to me how we all have our
So
own
the size,
story.
yeah, yeah. This industry is just super diverse that way.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
you um out in Kitchener, and actually I think I saw somewhere here that you're out of the Galt area now.
yeah. That's where my wife and I bought our first home. Also just pre-pandemic, so a lot of things happened around that time, and yeah, we set up roots in Galt, and so that's where Bellevue is currently based out of.
Gotcha. Very cool. I actually might be doing a talk at the Galt Horticultural Society
Oh, great. Yeah,
because I
great.
have it in my schedule, but I
Yeah,
don't actually have an email from them. So I'm wondering why I put it in my schedule if I don't know.
I think that's just the nature of those types of groups.
I may have just made it up. Maybe it was a dream. And I woke up and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I better put that in my schedule before I
yeah.
forget.
They got a really great spot along the river,
Nice.
like an old stone limestone cottage
Oh,
along
that
the
sounds
river. Yeah,
awesome.
they got a good spot.
Wow. So you guys do a little bit of everything. Your design, your install, softscape, hardscape.
Yeah, on the hardscape side, I wouldn't say we do any major hardscaping.
Mm-hmm.
That's my background. That's the biggest part of my career has been in hardscaping.
Yep.
Um, but I think as much as we have listed on our website, a lot of them are like in tandem, like they're the same skill sets. So it might look like we offer a lot, but really when it gets down to it, we're good at implementing mostly big planting garden projects and doing those in a
Nice.
bit of a sustainable way. It's all the same stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you'd say that's more of the niche that you're doing then is softscape install, um, but
Yeah.
different scales, right? So whether
Yeah.
it's front
Yeah.
yard,
Yeah.
backyard
And
installation,
if
that type thing.
that's right. And if we do any kind of hardscape work, we definitely have a bit of a style where we're not using lots of big precast concrete products. We're using a lot
Yep.
of natural material, a lot of flagstone, a lot of raw wood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. And I think there's a beginning to be, I don't know about a shift or a reshift or how you'd word that, but all of these, I mean, it's just my opinion. So don't, Don't tell anybody, even though we're on the internet. But there's all of these trends, really modular, clean lines, perfection in the landscape. But that's so man-made, it's so contrived, it's so controlled. And in nature, we don't have that. So I feel like we're starting to get back to the timelessness of natural products.
And I think that's just it. It is timeless, and everything else is fleeting,
Yeah,
right? All the other trends are fleeting, and there is a timelessness to nature and natural systems and those
yeah,
processes, and yeah, for sure.
absolutely. And we are going to get to biophilic design because I'm so excited that this is something that you also want to talk about. But before we get into that, I want to know what you're drinking.
Okay, this is, and I haven't poured it yet, so I'll pour it out now. This is I don't know if you can see that,
Oh my gosh, that's a
Jackass.
great Jackass Brewing. That is a great can art.
Yeah, that's their logo. They're friends of ours. They're also a longtime client. They're one of Bellevue's first supporters.
Huh.
It's a great spot here in Cambridge, and this is like their flagship beer. It's a
Sunkiss?
new yeah, Sunkiss New England IPA.
Huh. I have not tried that one. This is really why I created the podcast, right? It's just an excuse to discover new beers
Oh,
and New
totally.
England IPAs and double IPAs and all those cool stuff. So
Yeah.
Jackass Brewing, I am gonna totally check that out. Very
In
cool.
ter in terms of IPAs, it's a pretty traditional, I guess, New England
Yep.
IPA. It's got it doesn't say on the can, but I think it's Citra and Simcoe. So it's
Okay.
got like really earthy tropical flavors to it.
Nice.
It's also super hazy and super juicy, and that's kind of my style.
Awesome. Mine
So
too.
yeah.
So I think
So
that makes
cheers.
three of us so far on the show, because Curtis from the Landmark Group is also a juicy IPA guy. So next time we're all together, we'll have to figure that out. So
Perfect.
I'm actually drinking a refined fool. Mine's almost done. Sorry, I started without you.
That's okay.
Um, I'm drinking a van full of Weirdos.
Oh, that's one of my favorites right now. Yeah, they really knock it out of the park there. They're
Yeah,
um they're in Sarnia.
they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
refined fool, and they have an IPA, like a mixed box, so you can
Yeah.
try a whole bunch of these weird ones. So
Yeah.
van full of Weirdos. Again, who comes up with these names? But it's hilarious. I just
And I
love that.
think being having a design and art background from OCAD, I gravitate to cans like that for sure. So I
Yeah.
so I, I tested it. I love it. And then there's another one that I think it's seasonal. It's an OJ IPA,
Okay.
and the name is Florida Stole My Parents.
I think I've
So
tried
they're
that
just
one.
yeah. So I think they're just a fun group down there. They're on
Yeah.
my list. Me and my wife like to do a bit of a tour and check out spots that are outside of our town, and they're
Nice.
on our
Yeah,
they're
they're
on our list.
on my list. So we've got a girls trip planned for March down in Sarnia, and so I'm going to be taking a little detour day trip. But I actually yesterday, so because I have an IPA mixed box, I'm kind of drinking a lot of refined fool right now, right? Working my way through this box.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I tried this one for the first time called Tracksuit. Smash IPs. Like,
Yeah.
and so Tracksuit Smash IPA. And I think this is now in my top five favorites of beers
And
of all
again,
time.
just like I really applaud their design team or their marketing
Yeah.
team, like their graphics, their designs are awesome. I love it.
And it's so funny talking to my husband because he does not do IPAs or weird beers as we call them. But he's like, well, does it taste like a tracksuit? And I was like, no, but it tastes like the comforting feeling of a tracksuit, like fresh out of
Okay.
the dryer. I don't know how to explain it. I actually looked up the hops in this because I had never heard it before. Is it on the can or is it, where did I get this? Oh, so brewed with Nectaron hops, which I guess is a hop from New Zealand, which is
Never
very
heard of it.
tropical,
Yeah.
but there is
Cool.
almost zero bitterness. And
Wow.
I think bitterness adds a certain dimension to flavor of beer, and I don't necessarily mind it. But when I sipped this and there was no bitterness, it kind of took me off guard. Like I wasn't expecting it. So smooth, so good. Highly recommend this one. And it takes
Okay.
a lot for me to get really excited. But Tracksuit, Tracksuit, not track soup. That would be a different beer. I don't know if I would drink track soup.
So dark ale.
Yeah, really dark. Tracksuit Smash IPA was absolutely delightful. So kudos
Oh,
to Rupine Fool. They know what they're doing over there.
you bet.
Getting back into it. So favorite outdoor place. I like that you say anywhere warm. I mean, me too.
I think that's a consequence of being in the industry so long. I've done a lot of snow removal and I'm over it.
So do you still
So
do it or no?
no, Bellevue doesn't. And we're working on ways to try to extend our season longer and longer into the winter, but we're not keen on it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me neither.
We just came back from 2 weeks in the Caribbean.
Oh,
We have family in the British Virgin Islands.
nice.
So that's when I say somewhere warm, I mean warm.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, so British Virgin Islands, sorry, my geography isn't so good. Is that like Cayman Islands?
Um, no, the way I describe it is that archipelago that comes off the Keys, right? The Keys kind of does
Oh, yep.
this, and then it goes like this down to
Right.
like Central America.
Yep.
The British Virgin Islands is on the top of that bend next to Puerto Rico. There's
Okay.
the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands, kind of, and then Puerto Rico.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I clearly don't travel enough. I just know that in 2018 was our last vacation, and the hubby and I, we went to Cayman Islands and didn't realize that it was under British rule and thus in European pounds.
Okay. So actually the BDI it uses American currency. They're a British protectorate, so they're like a. I think the only thing that supplies them is the law enforcement and a little bit of the government, but otherwise they rely on the American currency, and it's probably just because of their
Wow.
proximity to the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Right. And yeah, my geography definitely not one of my strengths, but the hubby and I, whenever we travel, we like to keep it as a surprise. So we don't look up anything before we go somewhere new.
Awesome,
But then
awesome.
when we got there and realized, oh, a beer is $9 US.
Yeah,
Uh, okay, so we are going to charge everything to the room and not look so that we can enjoy the week. And we will
yeah,
deal with
fair.
the money of what this is costing afterwards. So that was
Yeah,
maybe I
fair
should
enough.
start looking up places before we go. So, um, so you're really big on native plantings, right? So there's kind of this ongoing joke
Uh,
that
yeah, it's funny. I really they're super important. Bottom
yep,
line is native pollinators need native plants. Full stop.
absolutely. Yep.
But I find myself I butt heads with the native plant militia, and they are a militia. They're super militant,
That's a
and that's
good way
just
to put it.
because um, native plants isn't always the answer,
Right.
right? So when we talk about sustainable design and sustainable landscaping,
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to the right plant for the right place.
Yeah.
If it's native, 100%, all systems go.
Right.
But if there's a suitable option that's not native, that would outperform something that's native, and we know it's not invasive, and we know it's not going to impact the local ecology and all that. Like we really get down to that kind of detail when we're doing our designs.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to use it. But yeah, we definitely push native plants. My own garden is a mix. I'd say it's probably 70-30, 70% native and
Yep.
30% non-native.
And that's a pretty good balance. So your video is coming
Oh, you
in and
froze
out,
a little
but
bit there.
we can hear you fine. So as long as you can hear me fine as well. Um, but that's definitely one of the big discussions right now, right? Because with native plants, there's as you put a militia, which people can be really die-hard fans of natives, and nothing else is going to work. However, there are certain growing conditions where natives don't, they no longer work with climate change, right? Temperatures rising. Oh, and we lost him, but he'll be back. And now we're gonna have a dance break with Heather. Dun, 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 dun. I don't dance. I could just keep talking to myself. That's new. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. But we do not have sponsors. We are currently experiencing technical difficulties. Please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Hi, there
I
you
hope this
are.
doesn't. Oh, I hope this doesn't screw things up. I don't know what's happening there.
Hey,
Everything
that's
seems to be going
okay.
smoothly on man.
Do you know what? You'll just have to wait for the podcast episode to go live. There was a whole dance break. I improvised a whole commercial. I don't even know what I was selling, but I'm sure we'll both watch it for the first time when it goes.
Yeah.
Too funny. I was just saying with native plants, because of climate change, right? Because of site conditions, the native isn't always the answer.
No.
Right? I mean, something that comes to
Yeah.
my mind quite often is the bearberry, the Cornus canadensis, which is the creeping woodland ground cover dogwood, which is native to Ontario, but it is very difficult to propagate and it is very
Yeah.
difficult to get established.
Yeah.
And even though on one side we know that periwinkle is not the answer because it's invasive. So anybody out there who's listening, who's still buying and putting vinca and periwinkle in their designs, please stop. And if you're a homeowner, please don't, right? Because even for people who put periwinkle in pots, right? I mean, Royal Botanical Gardens had a beautiful hanging pot for years with perennial vinca. But when you trim that plant, where do those clippings go? Because wherever you throw them, they're going to root and they're going to take over. There's no easy way to get rid of it. So we know that vinca and periwinkle isn't the option, but there's got to be a different alternative that maybe isn't native, that's still a ground cover, that's going to establish, that's easy to propagate and easier to source, right?
We like woodland strawberry and we like
Yep.
the ground cover dogwood.
Mm-hmm.
Both are notoriously hard to establish. We've had some success when we use like Gromax and then shredded pine
Okay.
mulch, and it's like it gets close to mimicking like a really broken down forest floor,
Yep.
but it's still a long process for it to fill in and establish
Right.
properly.
What about Tiarella, the foam flower?
Oh yeah, we love foam flower.
Because
Yeah,
that's a good one.
we use that a lot.
Um,
Yeah.
what was the other one that I was thinking of? Sweet woodruff,
No, I don't think that's in any
but
of our designs.
it's not a native, and I think it spreads when it's really happy. So depending on, I
Right.
don't know, it's one of those things, right? Or wild ginger, right? Because we have
Yeah.
a native ginger too in Ontario, which is great
Yeah.
for spreading that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so aside from outdoor plants, do you have an indoor plant or like a family of indoor plants that you love, even if they're plastic ones? I think we had somebody on the podcast where they're like, I love plastic plants because
Yeah.
I can keep them alive.
I don't have it here at my house, but you'll see them at the malls a lot. And it's a bromeliad,
Mm-hmm.
Guzmania, and I just think it has such an awesome structure and color to it. You
Yep.
get them in the oranges and the yellows and the pinks and the reds. Um, that's one of my favorites. Here at my house, I have an agave that, or sorry, aloe that it seems to be doing well, but I have a hard time. I think it's a time thing. Like my Sansevieria is toast.
Yep.
My pothos isn't doing so hot.
Mm-hmm.
My spider plant has died back. Like I think I have too many fingers and too many pies, and so my house plants tend to suffer.
Right.
But bromeliads, as in terms of a family of tropicals or interiors, I love bromeliads.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got a little mix of a bunch of things going on, but I find I'm still experimenting with houseplants because me too. Like I get so busy with being outside and our work, and I come home and I'm not thinking about watering or cleaning or washing my houseplants, right?
Yeah, yeah, no
So,
doubt.
is there one that you really struggle to keep alive? Like, do you have an arch nemesis of houseplants?
Yeah, the snake plant. And that's supposed to be the one
Really?
that's, yes, that's supposed to be the one that's like bulletproof and low light and poor soil conditions, and
Yeah.
I keep going through them and I love them again because I like structure, and those
Yep.
are so structural. So the Sansevieria trifasciata has that nice variegation to it.
Yep.
Um, like it's on my way to the office, my basement office, and I keep replacing the one that's in the little cubby above the stairwell, and I can't keep it alive for the life of
Huh.
me.
I
Yeah,
don't think I've ever heard somebody say they
it
struggle with a snake plant.
I know it's
So,
awful. It's like it makes me embarrassed to be a horticulturalist.
hey, no, no, go easy on yourself because I can't keep a spider plant alive. What that is supposed to also be a super easy
Sure.
house plant
Yeah.
and within days. So there's something in the atmosphere in our house. I don't know.
Yeah.
I bring one home and they do not like it here.
We
So,
recently had a contract to do all the downtown hanging baskets and planters for the Cambridge BIA.
yep.
And our centerpiece was spider plants. And it's funny, they didn't like it because, it comes off and it makes the little pups. And that's why I put it there. I thought that was unique and interesting.
Yeah.
And so we kept them all. I had 15 of them. I was like, oh, for sure, I'm going to get the spider plant going because I have 15 ones to fail on. They're currently all in my shop dead. Just a funny side story.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So spider plant, that's another one. So as a house plant, I fail every time. But that is one that I've recently started using in planters because
Yeah.
it is very visually interesting. It yeah, and does really well.
We get a kick out of doing planters. I think that's one of our favorite little things that we offer. And I do like to experiment with like non-traditional looking
Yep.
compositions. And yeah, the spider plant helps with that all the time.
Yeah, I had a
Especially if you get one that's already established that already has the cascading pups coming off the side.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they propagate pretty quickly in
Yeah.
planters. So when they're outside,
Oh yeah.
it doesn't take too long for them to fill up and for them to start hanging over. For me, it was a client actually, because she likes more of a tropical look. And she's like, what do you think about adding some spider plant? And I was like, well, we can try it. I hadn't really thought about it. Now I've been doing it for years. I just love what it looks like. Another one I really like for planters is licorice plant.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of like a miniature lamb's ear almost. Like
Yeah.
they're dime size, fuzzy leaves, that silvery foliage. But man, do they ever fill in quick.
Yeah.
So I think they're sold as a filler slash spiller, but they go crazy. So they're not gonna hang over really nicely like the uh is it Dichondra Silver Falls?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Has a really nice drape to it, where this kind of goes, it looks like an alien in planters. But I'm all for the weirdos. So
Yeah. I think that's myself. I think that's more myself.
So we did talk a little bit about materials and whatnot, faux cobble, right? There's lots of really cool kind of natural stones and timelessness. And you kind of hinted at it earlier, saying raw materials and how certain things are timeless. So I want to talk about biophilic design for a second.
Okay.
So where did you first come across the term?
So again, I did environmental design at OCAD
Okay.
as a minor to my graphic design. And I mean, they didn't teach biophilic design, but I came across it in my own research and studies.
Yep.
And I think I just was fascinated with that as an idea, especially being like downtown Toronto. Like OCAD is Queen and McCall, like the
Yeah.
Chum building was right there. Like, and I didn't like Toronto for its density. I think that was one of the other reasons why I didn't appreciate being there. Learned a lot, but didn't like being there. So
Right.
I just naturally gravitated to it. So I just started diving deep. And then when I started consulting on the side, so this is many years later, that just became a topic that people were asking me about, and I was having conversations with business owners about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it also just falls in line with everything else I believe in that
Yep.
we do in this industry. Like my whole philosophy of why I'm so passionate about what I do in this whole industry is like we have such a tremendous um, ability to impact people in a positive way and impact the
Mm-hmm.
environment in a positive way. And these like biophilic design is a tool in the toolkit to help do that.
Right.
So when it comes to like defining Bellevue's style is using raw materials,
Oh no, we lost you again. Cliffhanger. Ah, yay, technology. We'll see if maybe he'll leave and come back. But for anybody tuning in, Biophilic Design, I'll probably add like a Q&A or a poll to this episode. I'm wondering if you've ever heard of the term Biophilic Design and or if you've ever come across any resources for it. So Biophilic Design, it's a concept, it's actually interior design, but it's the concept of bringing the outdoors in. So bringing inside those green spaces, using raw materials, using wood, using stone. Another one of my personal favorite materials is Corten steel. So when you buy it, it's actually silver. It looks like brand new, shiny metal, but it goes to rust very quickly. And once it's rusted, it stays rusted forever. So another one of the core concepts of biophilic design is that the life cycle of things aging, getting old, dying, becoming new is something that can be used in design. So for example, driftwood, right? Wood that has died, that has character, that has little spots and curves to it can be fascinating. The Corten steel, right? Seeing that life, that natural life process of this silver planter going from shiny and new to rust. So it's just another one of those features. So I'm not sure if Adam's going to be jumping back on here, but I'm going to actually take this opportunity to share my screen because I knew we were going to be talking about biophilic design a little bit. And I wanted to share with you guys. So anyone who's out there who might be interested in learning more about biophilic design, this is a resource that I've come across years ago. I'm actually quite fascinated by environmental psychology. So that's something I study in my own personal time, and that's where I discovered biophilic design. But I found this group, so ugreen.io, and they do some incredible workshops, online courses. They have an Instagram. But right on their page, ugreen.io, you can find a complete, what is it? The Biophilic Design, the complete guide to reconnect with nature. And they have this whole guide here talking about biophilic design and lighting and materials and why it's so important. So that is them. The other thing, so they are, excuse me, ugreen_US on Instagram. So that is something, do check them out. They have some really cute videos, some really great information. So super easy to find. So biophilic design, let's see if I can actually pull this down a little bit. So when we look up biophilic design in Google, you get all of these Google images, right? So these are all just sort of different concepts of, at a high level, bringing the outside in. So this one I especially loved. This is a high-rise office building, and there is a swinging bench, like a bench swing indoors. So I don't know if this is like a lounge area at an office space. It kind of feels like an office building, but they're using natural light. They're using the color green. They're using wood. They're using natural colors, so colors found in nature. They have plants. And there's something about this that I find very calming for a space. So that's kind of what that is. I'm going to hit the stop share here. I think Adam is coming back to us. There you go. I can hear him now. Adam, how are you? Welcome back.
You need some sponsorship to fill these gaps, eh?
I do. Do you know what? Maybe one day the podcast will just blow up and everybody will be like, oh, she's talking about landscaping and beer. We better give her some money.
Yeah.
But
then you can have some commercials when something like this happens.
yeah, for right now, I just talk about everything that excites me. So all I was talking about, I kind of went on this whole segue about biophilic design and how freaking awesome it is.
Yeah.
And I showed the website because I was going to ask you if you're familiar with Ugreen. I think.
No. Terrapin Bright Green is a good resource. I'm not familiar with Ugreen.
Oh, let me just look this
Terrapin,
up. Terrapin?
Terrapin Bright Green. And just to kind of recap the materials, so that was a conscious choice of ours because the human brain recognizes and has a preference to natural materials. And the reason why Terrapin is such a good resource is because um, they've developed a set of guidelines or design principles, much like composition, color, weight, line,
Yeah.
all and so they have 14 principles of biophilic design, and one of them has to do with the preference to natural materials or natural analogs, which would be a natural material that's been refined down to another product, but still has some of the characteristics of being natural. So wood grain, stone,
Wow.
material that has like inflected detail in it that is like readable through our senses. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's so cool. I have not heard of Terrapin. So I just quickly just brought up their website here if anybody else wants to check them out.
And they have under publications, they do have a lot of the resources are free as PDF documents.
Yeah, that's so
Great
cool.
resources. They have case studies. They have the economics of biophilic design, like how
Oh
employing
yeah.
biophilic design actually has a net positive to buildings capital and buildings operating costs. And
Wow. This is awesome.
yeah, it's incredible.
Well, thanks for sharing. We'll definitely put a link to that. The one that I was showing, Ugreen. So it's ugreen.io.
Okay.
But this is the people that I just discovered through social media. So I actually follow their anytime they're on Instagram or stuff like that, they randomly do little
Yeah.
videos or workshops.
Yeah.
But also really cool.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna write that down.
ugreen.io.
But I don't know if you talked about this, but for anyone that doesn't know what it is, it's not a new concept. It was sort of popularized by Edward O. Wilson, who's an American ologist. He's all the ologists. He's an
Hmm.
entomologist. He's a
All the
socio.
ologists.
He's all the ologists. He kind of popularized the idea, and then I have this really awesome quote that I want to share from Frederick Olmsted, who's an
Okay.
American landscape architect. And this just kind of describes the idea of why it's so important. He says, the enjoyment of scenery employs the mind without fatigue and yet exercises it, tranquilizes it and yet enlivens it, and thus through the influence of the mind over the body gives the effect of refreshing rest and reinvigoration to the whole system. So it's this idea that nature and natural systems and natural processes physically does something to us in a
Yeah.
positive way. It allows us to recharge faster. It allows us to recover faster. It allows us,
Hmm.
um, yeah. I think that's just it's a wordy quote, but it's because it's from 1865.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good one.
they were wordier back then. But
Yeah. I've got a quote too from ah oh, see, it's another landscape architect, but he talks about how make no small plans, or they've not the power to ignite a man's soul, or something like that. But he's a landscape architect who did
yeah,
these big, crazy things. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put it in the description of the podcast. But it's one of my favorite quotes. And of course, I just kiboshed it because I'm not a writer. Um, And I think it's interesting that over time, like we are starting to now do studies and actually research the effects that nature has on us. It's
and
incredible.
that's the other interesting thing about biophilia and biophilic design is that it is evidence based.
Yeah,
There is evidence based tools to help improve humankind's well being.
right.
Like
And
there's case studies of hospitals that have a 30% drop in the need for pain medication for patients who are recovering and are in an environment that's exposed to nature versus someone who's just in a sterile
Yeah.
hospital bed. Like 30%, that's pretty huge. That's a
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
huge drop, right? So,
Oh, I remember hearing or learning too, because I studied landscape design at Fanshawe, and learning that at times when people would die in their 40s, these landscape architects that we study today lived until their 80s. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
no.
You know, when you work with plants, when you're out in nature, when you're outside, when you're helping to create beauty,
Yeah.
I think that has an effect on you in a positive way. So,
Yeah. So I think as a whole, sorry if you want to talk about something different, but as a whole, it kind of addresses more interior design things, but
yeah,
you can extrapolate some of that information and apply it to landscape design in general, right? Like there's
absolutely.
and you touch on it without realizing it when you do things like create sensory gardens and things like
Yep,
that. Like that is dabbling in biophilic design without even realizing it.
absolutely.
And
Couldn't have
again,
said it
like
better. I am going to start cutting you off because we've got
sure,
less than a minute.
okay,
You will most likely be looking for employees. So if anybody wants to look up, they can do BellevueLandscapes.com, right?
yeah,
To reach out to you and connect with you that way.
yeah,
We might get cut off, but I'm going to let it roll. I do
sure.
want to thank you so much for coming onto the show. It's been
Sorry for all the
awesome.
mishaps.
No, technology, right?
Yeah,
But
technology.
really quick, could you suggest a book?
Okay,
Really quick.
Drunken Botanist. That's beer and plants. Do it.
You
Read
are the
it.
second person. I have to buy this book. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to
And
end it right
now,
there.
okay.
I am so excited to have had you on the show. Thank you so much for coming out, Adam.
Appreciate it, Heather. Cheers.
Cheers. That concludes this week's episode, hosted by me, Heather Gerard at My Landscape Artist. Now, before you go, here's some info about our sponsor, ext.tech. In today's fast-paced world, your landscaping business needs modern solutions to keep up with the change. That's where EXT comes in. EXT is revolutionizing the way you manage projects and streamlines your landscaping, snow removal, and construction operations. Instead of juggling 5 different software packages, endless spreadsheets, losing track of leads, and missing out on potential sales, you could be leveraging AI job routing, client management, and financial insights with a modern mobile app that employees love to use. With EXT's flat rate pricing, you'll never be caught off guard. If you're ready to revolutionize and grow your landscaping business, visit ext.tech today to learn more. And for additional savings, use the code HOPS10 at checkout, or just tell them that Heather sent you. See you next week for another episode of Hops and Hedges.